Photography. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you haven't been here before. Please go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and check out the other ones we've done so far. So this week we're going to be discussing nature photography. It is something that I started out my love of photography with. I started shooting on a very small point-and-shoot digital Olympus camera. I don't remember the exact model, but it was very small. It was something good to kind of learn my angles on and everything. There wasn't much I could do when it came to changing settings and adjusting how I wanted my photos to look with lighting and everything else. I had to pretty much rely on trying to Photoshop them. So I eventually moved up to the Canon Rebel T3i, and that's where I really started to learn how to adjust my settings on my camera, because I was, shooting with a DSLR, more professional type of camera. Now I'm shooting on the Nikon D5600 and I love it. It has been really good for just my normal, business photography, portraits, families, newborns, all of that. And it has also been really good with my nature photography. So the first thing I want to touch on is the gear that you're going to want. Or, you don't have to have it, but it is helpful. I usually, when I'm out photographing birds or just in general wildlife that I can't get up close to, because A, it might not be safe, but B, like a bird, it's skittish. You're not going to be able to get up close to it and get a good clear photo before it tries to fly off. I like to use my 70-300 Nikon lens. I purchased this about a year and a half ago, shortly after I upgraded to my Nikon. And I very much love the clear, crisp zoom that I'm able to get, photos with. I photographed quite a few birds and things like that with this lens, and I will share those photos at the end of the video. And then usually for my types of nature photos that are more up close, I'll use for like dogs, cats, animals that you can really get, a lot closer to. I'll use my 18-55. Or I'll use it for as well as, doing dogs and cats and types of animals you can get up close with. I use it for flowers. I will share a photo, a couple of them, that I have used that lens for that were floral and very up close. And it's still able to get, it's not as crisp as, a macro lens. Which I do not have one currently right now, but I do plan on getting one eventually. But it gets really close to it, and it does get a really good, pretty clear, crisp photo from it. I will share the photos, and I'll put what lens I used for which shot. I do also use this bigger one, the 70-300, for photographing the night sky. I find it works really well photographing the moon. I've gotten quite a good few shots of the nighttime with the moon out in full blast. I photographed an eclipse with it. It's been a really good tried and true lens when it comes to nature photography, and being able to get a really good zoom on, nature, wildlife, the moon, things like that you can't sit there and get up close with, but you still want to get a really good shot of. Next thing would be having a really good camera bag with you. If you're going and hiking around and walking on nature trails and you're going to be out there for like an hour or more, I would advise getting a good either solid fanny pack, which I usually use if I am, going to a session that I only need 1 or 2 lenses. And it's very lightweight, fits around my waist, it's comfortable, and it's very easy to change my lenses out with the fanny pack. Or if you do want a bigger, larger bag because you do have more equipment, I would advise getting one that's got good sturdy shoulder pads, it's got support across your chest, it's comfortable to wear, and it's breathable to an extent, and it's going to be, I have one that is shock absorbent on the bottom, the padding, just in case I do happen to fall. It will help to absorb the shock, and it won't damage my lenses and my gear that I do still have in my bag. Last thing I would say gear-wise would be a good solid camera strap. I know that most of these camera kits, I'll put this over here, come with a camera strap, whether it's Nikon, Sony, Canon. I've used both the Canon and Nikon strap. I used the Canon strap the entire time I had my Canon camera, which was a very long time. I don't recommend sticking with the basic strap that comes with that camera or any camera. I would advise going on Amazon or any local people that you do know that maybe sell custom-made camera straps. I have a scarf one that I got off Amazon for I think about $15 to $16. It has worked phenomenally. It's very lightweight, so if you're like me and you photograph in Florida, where there's a lot of, you know, humidity and heat and just it gets very sticky and uncomfortable, having a scarf style or just a very lightweight camera strap to have everything, you know, comfortably wrapped around your neck while you're shooting is a huge plus. I would say if you do want to get one that is just a wrist strap, be careful, because carrying around your camera body while you're trying to shoot and not having a way to quickly put your camera down in a situation where if you are photographing like legitimate wildlife, bears, you know, if you're out on like a safari thing, if you're on vacation, lions, things like that. I've never gotten that intense with it. I would love to one day, but other than the safari at Disney, I really don't plan on probably getting too close to lions, giraffes, all of that. But if you are taking your camera to Disney and you do want to get some good wildlife shots, I would advise a strap that goes around your neck. It is more comfortable and it is more, just in general, it's just easier to deal with than having something right there on your wrist the entire time and you can't really put your camera body down unless you sit here and you unstrap and everything else. Then you gotta find a place to put your camera. So I would advise a good lightweight, I recommend the scarf style for your camera strap. So like I said, a very lightweight camera strap. Get you a basic kit lens, which is your 18 to 55 millimeter, comes with most camera kits, and a good 70 to 300 millimeter lens. Those are just my basic starting things on top of having a good camera bag that I do advise you have when you are out photographing nature. So the next thing is also kind of has to do with your gear, is condensation on your lens. When your lens is fogging up and it's frustrating and you're just like, what can I do to make it stop? There really isn't much you can do to make it to where it never happens. You're going to want to basically just, what I do if I'm heading out to a session or I know I'm heading out to just in general photograph nature and I know it's going to be humid outside, I just take the lens cap off. I let my camera sit in a nice safe spot while I'm driving, and I just let it, you know, defog while I'm heading to my session. And usually by the time I get there, within about 5 to 10 minutes, it's good and it's ready to go and I can start shooting as soon as I get to my location. So that's about the only thing I found that will help with condensation on your lens. I know there's people say to use your spit and just to wipe it with a cloth. I can tell you none of that works because sadly I tried the spit technique when I was starting out. It was gross, first of all, and it did not work, second of all. And then also just putting things on it. I know when my husband was in the Navy, he had his helmet stuff in there, his goggles would fog up when he was out on the flight line, and they would use, there was this, it was a little blue container of just like it prevented fogging, but I don't think I will ever be brave enough to put it on a camera lens. I haven't done enough research into it, but that stuff would prevent his goggles from even starting to fog up. I don't know if that's safe to use on a lens. I'm gonna do more research into that and I'll get back to you guys with more information on it. If it does work and it is good, I'm gonna use it because I'm a Florida photographer, and the amount of humidity that hits my lens when I go out for sessions is insane. So I'm gonna try that out and see, but as of right now, you just have to have patience, take your lens cap off, let everything adjust how it naturally will adjust, and just, you know, make sure you plan that into your sessions or just whenever you're going out to shoot in general. Just make sure that you carve out that 5 to 10 minutes to let your lens adjust. Another thing that I want to talk about is places that you can go shoot to get good practice. So before you start on those 5 to 10 mile nature hikes where you're basically just having to learn on the go and you're very much in the element, and it's harder to focus on what you need to do to your camera to get a good shot. Before you do jump into that, I would advise going to your local, like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, garden centers. They are filled with numerous amounts of foliage, different types of rocks, plants, just all of that stuff that you would really want to photograph other than animals. I mean, sometimes you can catch birds in there, but other than large animals and stuff like that, you can get, you know, a good take on how to do your foliage shots. I like a good macro shot of flowers, leaves, plants. I like a good artistry shot of, you know, those things. So being able to go and just during normal working hours while my kids are at school or while my husband's here with the littlest one, or just on the weekend when I do have time, I can go out and I can, you know, practice photographing, you know, a couple of different flowers, different types of foliage. And it'll also help because you're outdoors. It's going to help you learn how to adjust your lighting on the go. That way you can learn, instead of having to learn literally out in the elements when you're out hiking and everything is very much, you have to you've got to learn how to do it very quickly. You have to know exactly what you're doing or you might miss a really awesome shot because nature in general is so finicky and moves so quickly. Being able to learn how to move your camera settings around when you're not in a very tight, you know, and stressed environment, and you know that flower's not going anywhere, you know, and it helps. Because I know when I was photographing the fire department in Kosciuszko, it was really good to know that I knew what to adjust my settings to while going from inside the garage where the trucks were to outside, inside, outside. I was photographing one of their guys while he was training. And if I did not know how to move my camera settings in that specific moment and how to adjust it given the lighting, I wouldn't have gotten the amount of shots. I got thousands of shots. And it was very fast paced. So because I knew how to adjust my camera settings, I actually was able to get a lot of really good shots that if I didn't know what I was doing, I'd be sitting there staring at the back of my camera, test shot, oh, that's not right, adjust, test shot, that's not right. But instead I knew how to get to where I needed to be, to where just a quick click, 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 boom, I'm good, and I can photograph until, you know, the setting changes again, you know, to where he's at. So being able to go into a controlled environment, practice your settings, practice how you want to really photograph nature, because there's different styles on how people photograph. Being able to do that in a controlled environment that's A, safe, and B, you know, just very calm. It's relaxing. It's no stress involved. It's a huge help. Also greenhouses. I have a local greenhouse in the area that I actually done a session at before, and I'm doing my spring minis there this year. There's gorgeous plants. It is temperature controlled. It's kind of hot, kind of humid. But even if it's raining outside, I know during business hours, and I've already, you know, they already know who I am, I can go in, photograph all the flowers I want to photograph. I do send it to them so they have it if they want to use those photos. I don't charge for it. I do this for fun. But being able to go into a controlled environment where even if it's raining outside, I can get really good, gorgeous shots of really pretty and a lot of times very unique foliage is a huge plus when it comes to trying to learn your nature photography and really hone that craft and that skill. Last thing I want to touch on is the time of day that you want to shoot. If you're in a greenhouse, it's pretty light controlled. It's basically a giant freaking softbox the way that most greenhouses are. So it's going to you're going to have to adjust your lighting, yes, but not an insane amount, depending on time of day. I usually do, when I am doing actual outdoor shoots, I prefer, even when it comes to nature, doing it in the morning is my favorite time to do it, because nature's just starting to wake up. Things are just starting to get started for the day. The lighting's not harsh. It's always very calm. It's peaceful. It's quiet. I advise that as a good time. I mean, also sunsets are also nice, especially if you are trying to photograph specifically a sunset. Being able to go out at that time, know what your settings need to be at, Pay attention as the sun is going down. Check and make sure as you're shooting that you have your exposure and everything's fixed to where it needs to be, because that sun is dropping quickly and your lighting is going to shift tremendously, ever so slightly, every couple minutes. So being able to kind of know your camera and know how to adjust for that's going to be important when you are photographing, either in the morning or at night, because the times, you know, the lighting is shifting while you're doing that. You can shoot in the middle of the day if you know how to, you know, correct your camera to where it needs to be so that your lighting isn't harsh, everything's looking good. You know, go for it. If you want to shoot in the middle of the day, that's fine. I just find that everything is calmer, more peaceful, and a lot easier to photograph in the morning. So that is all I have for you guys when it comes to nature photography. As of right now, I will probably do one, you know, a ways down the road if I learn any more, you know, tips, tricks, different things, because as a photographer, this business is ever growing and ever changing, and there's always going to be something new to learn, something new to discover. So if you guys have any other tips or tricks that you would just like to share in the comments below, feel free to do that. Or if you have anything that you would like me to touch on in a future video, just let me know below in the comments, and go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn that bell on so that way you get notified anytime we post anything new. We do post every Tuesday. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and yeah.